Hello, this is a review of Zack McDermott's book, Gorilla and the Bird, a memoir of madness and a mother's love. That's an interesting place to start. I didn't choose this book. This is one that somebody else bought. My wife bought this. She read it. She said, "You'll probably enjoy it." So I read it, and she was right. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Um, Very briefly, this is the memoir of a PD, public defender from New York, well, public defender in New York, originally from Wichita, Arkansas. I'm not sure how it's meant to be said. Arkansas. Apologies to anybody who was offended by my pronunciation. The public defender is Zack McDermott, also a writer, obviously, although not at that stage. And this is a recollection, very well written recollection, of how he lost his mind. Not lost his mind, temporarily misplaced his mind, maybe. Had psychotic breaks. The guy is bipolar. So going from perfectly normal to very, very manic depression, I think it used to be called. Very, very manic, running through fields naked, sticking his finger up his butt in his friend's as his friend drove and saying, "Look at me." And he stays in mental institutions. But the other side of that is that he works as a public defender. Public defender, I guess that's like being a teacher or being a nurse. You work your butt off, you do all the good you can. In the States, you're working against a system where basically, if you're black, you're incarcerated. If you're white and you do 20, 30 things, a bit bad, slap on the wrist. If you're black, oh, that's $8 it costs the state, 30 days in prison. Or if you're unlucky and you have some mental health issues, 30 days in Rikers. So it details his work as a public defender and really paints the American justice system as a completely shitty system, which is rigged against black people, run by white people, and anyone with mental health problems or who hasn't got a bit of money or who just doesn't happen to be white enough, you're pretty much screwed. But if you got money, you're okay, and you better hope you got money and you're white as well. So it shows that side of the system. If you're one of these people who grew up maybe in the 80s or the 70s thinking America is the land of the free and the home of justice and everything, oh my God, it's not. It's the UK is in a shitty state at the moment because it's being run by assholes who don't give a fuck about anybody apart from their own wallets and their own friends. And there are some idiots, probably largely thanks to the media, who's stupid enough to still believe them. America's worse. America's far, far worse. Back to Zack McDermott. Really, really well written. Smart guy, hardworking guy. And that's only half the story. The other half of the story is his background and his relationship with his mother. The bird is his mother, and Gorilla is him. Because he's big, he's muscular, he's hairy, and he's got black hair. And his nickname is Gorilla. And it talks about his childhood and his relationship with his absent father, who's basically just a loser. His living in New York. This is revealing about living in New York. I mean, the guy's on 45,000 a year, which in the UK even now is a good wage. In New York, you can barely afford to eat on 45,000 a year. There's a line in here. He says you get the sense in New York that money is constantly being drained from your account at a rapid rate. Public defender, lawyer, right? Lawyers don't make a lot of money, but apparently the gap between being a private lawyer, a private law firm, starting salary about 145, that's a lot of money. But in the States, I guess it would be the same as making about 70,000 in the UK by the sounds of things. And being a public defender is you're dirt broke, you're down and out, you are dealing with people every day you desperately want to help, but you're fighting against a really badly rigged system. Whereas basically just, they're black, send them in the pen. They're not white, send them in the pen. I don't even know if that's the right phrase. I just kind of started riffing there. It's moving, it's touching, and it just kind of paints the system, probably not in a necessarily bad way, just in a naked way, so you can see all his flaws. And then there are the recollections of his times in Rikers and in the mental hospitals. Now, it's not just a story about madness, it's a lot more than that. It's the story about his relationship with his mother. This guy's mother is incredible. Okay, so it's a picture painted from the sun's view, but even if you just looked at what she does and what she goes through and the shit she put up with her in life, in her own life, and where she gets to and what she becomes, and just the hardship of growing up poor in America. I mean, he openly admits that his family are about as thorough white trash as you can get. And the interactions he describes with them, oh my goodness, they're disturbing, entertaining, enlightening, call it what you want to. But let me read you the back, because the back is pretty good. Zack McDermott, a 26-year-old Brooklyn public defender, woke up one morning convinced he was being filmed as part of an audition for a TV pilot. He wanted to be a stand-up comedian as well, and then he had his first psychotic break, they call it. That's where the story begins. It's brilliant. Think of the Truman Show. Now, the Truman Show, where the guy thinks, I have not seen it, but it's referred to in this, and my friends had seen it. Jim Carrey thinks he's being filmed. His life isn't real. That didn't exist in the 1800s, because in the 1800s there were no TV, so it's hard to be delusional about being on a TV show. But anyway, so begins the story of Zack's freefall into psychosis and his desperate, poignant, often darkly funny struggle, it is funny, to claw his way back to sanity, regain his identity and rebuild some semblance of a stable life. It's a journey that will take him from New York City back to his Kansas roots and to the one person who might be able to save him, his tough, big-hearted, Midwestern mother, nicknamed the Bird, whose fierce and steadfast love is the light in Zack's dark world. Before his odyssey is over, Zack will be tackled by guards in mental wards, run naked through a cornfield, receive secret messages from the TV, befriend a former Navy SEAL, and see the Virgin Mary in the walls of his own back hair. But with the Bird's help, he just might have a shot at pulling through and maybe even meeting a woman who can love him back, bipolar and all. Written with raw emotional power, humor and tenderness, Gorilla and the Bird is bravely honest account of a young man's unraveling in a relationship that saves him. That does a better description of the book than I could have done, so I didn't just read it because I thought it would be nice. I thought it would add something to the review. I saw this right at the end of the book is a photograph of Gorilla and the Bird. So that's Zack and his mother. Obviously, when Zack was a baby, see how tired his mother looks. She went through a shit life as well. I guess a lot of people go through shit lives, don't they? Because what you see, this is the beauty of books, right? Books tell it as it is, not Facebook, which I've often heard called the highlights reel. You know, the guy who has the wonderful life and you don't know everything is least, and you don't know he's actually not always on holiday because the rest of the time he's at home shitting himself just like everybody else, puking in the gutter just like every other drunk, wondering how he's going to pay off anything, and then he kills himself. That happens a lot, but you never guess that from his Facebook reel, would you? Social media is bullshit. Books are great. Social media is bullshit. Really good book. I give this one 8 out of 10. In fact, I give this one 9 out of 10. I've just read some really good books. I'm actually listening at the moment to Stephen King's memoir about writing. That is brilliant. I mean, the stories he tells brilliantly. I've laughed out loud a few times. I laughed out loud in this as well. Some of the stuff this guy goes through and some of the ways he sees things. And I related to it a bit as well. Not because I'm a public defender, not because I'm bipolar. I'm none of those things. But it's very, very human. And, you know, it's told. One of the things in Stephen King's book, he says that you first tell the story for yourself and then you have to tell it for everybody else. So when you're telling it to everybody else, make sure it wouldn't just sound good to you. And usually the way to use that, the way to achieve that, from what I gather, is to get rid of all the unnecessary words that don't convey anything. So this book really conveys things. There's not unnecessary words. Every word delivers a blow. It conveys something. I think it's really well written. But I would definitely recommend it. I would say for me it was a 2-day read, but that's kind of irrelevant. Some people read faster, slower. 278 pages. No illustrations, other than the photograph I showed you. I never would have read it if somebody else hadn't bought it and recommended it to me. This is one of the great things about not buying your own books. I have so many books now, I don't really buy my own books. So when other people buy books and they say, I think you'll enjoy this, I just read it because they will have picked something that I wouldn't necessarily have gone to. So rather than what I read being sort of tunnel vision, it's more spread out. And I think I get more good books like that. Maybe that's something you should try. Read other people's books because they're not ones you would have chosen. And occasionally you'll get one and think, God damn, rubbish, I never would have read that. But you know that by page 30, page 50 anyway. So now I'm going to read another one of my wife's books. And I'll do a review on that as well. But this I recommend. I'm going to open a random page, and read it to you because I think the guy's a great writer. So, okay, so this is one of his white trash cousins. Bullshitting to one of his friends from New York, a guy called Jonas, after having drunk 20 beers or something like that, and bragging about it. I played with a lot of guys, man. James Brown, Muddy Waters, B.B. King. He used to come around all the time. Ray Charles, just once, Lynyrd Skynyrd. The Skinner claim was the most believable. He could at least pass for one of their roadies. I got a new album coming out. Oh, sorry, Uncle Randy, not Cousin Randy. Uncle Randy has had an album coming out since I was old enough to understand what that meant. I actually need to talk to you about that. I could use some connections out your way. New York? Yeah, I've got some contacts there. We went through the Bronx that night once when we was out there. That's something you don't never want to do. Yeah, I guess not. You played a show in New York. We were passing through on a tour. This was assuredly 100% bullshit, but I couldn't be certain whether he knew it was bullshit too. Zack could not be certain whether his friend knew it was bullshit too. His friend is being entertained by Uncle Randy. Yeah, well, let me tell you whenever you get out there, I said. I will, man. I'm getting my money together. This one, I'm telling you, this one's going to put me on the map. Cool. A lot of stuff happens on tour, Uncle Randy continued. I ever tell you that what we did to my buddy passed out drunk? No. What did you do? We greased up his butthole and stuck goose feathers in his ass. He woke up and didn't have no idea what happened. No, I don't suppose he would. Like I said, a lot of that stuff happens on the road. I fixated on his teeth for a moment, marvelled at the incongruity of his dental hygiene vis-a-vis his general bodily hygiene. Then I remembered that it had been a package deal when Frank had his teeth pulled out. Grandad had decided it was only fair to extend the same offer to Randy, and so, several years before their 50th birthdays, both men had had all their teeth extracted and were outfitted with dentures. I was certain that neither had felt any shame in this, and also that Randy would gladly remove his teeth and show me his gums if only I'd ask. Anyway, this is their Thanksgiving or their Christmas dinner, I don't recall. I'll stop there. I think I've given you enough to decide whether or not you want to read this book. I think you should. It's really good. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Next book review coming up as soon as I've read another book.